Hi, everybody. Welcome to Fresh Outlook, the show where we're talking about what you're talking about. I'm your host, Taryn Winterbrill, but you can call me TWB. Well, the presidential election is now just 10 days away. I know. Can you believe it? That means voters have just over a week to decide who they're backing and who they're not. So on today's show, we'll begin by tackling that third and final presidential debate. Was there a clear victor? I can tell our panel is itching to weigh in. Then, hold off. Then we'll turn the discussion to labor relations and specifically to job outsourcing. More and more jobs are being sent overseas. Our panel sounds off. We'll also get into something called reverse brain drain. And finally, later on, pop culture goes to the polls. We'll discuss celebrity endorsements, spoofs, parodies, and TV appearances. Why it's important to have just a little bit of fun during the campaign season. But before we get the conversation started, let's once again meet our all-star panel. Hey guys, how's it going? Let's start with WJ in those black frame glasses, which I'm loving.
Thank you. Hi, I'm WJ O'Reilly. I'm the headmaster of the Hanal School in Ridgefield Park, New Jersey, and I'm the co-producer and host of a new program on PBS called the K-12 Conversation about American Schools.
Terrific. Welcome. James?
I'm James Braxton Peterson, Director of Africana Studies at Lehigh University and a contributor to thegrio.com.
Terrific. Welcome. And finally, last but not least, FM on the dial.
Thank you. Yes, FM on the dial. Francesca Marguerite Maxime. I'm anchor here at Ebru TV and also the author of a new book, which is published in It's called
Rooted. Beautiful autumn colors.
It's finally done.
Terrific. All right, guys, welcome once again. We'll get into it in just a second. But first, the election is right around the corner and the clock is ticking. The third and final presidential debate took place earlier this week at Lynn University in Boca Raton, Florida. Take a look.
The third and final presidential debate took place earlier this week in Florida. Entering the night in what the general consensus agreed to be a tie, with one debate win apiece, the topic of the night was foreign policy. But almost as big of a story are the topics not discussed over the three televised debates. On the foreign policy side, while they did discuss war, neither candidate did much to talk about promoting peace. And on domestic issues, many were disappointed to not hear about poverty, the future of the Supreme Court, or campaign finance corruption, among other things. Despite being left out of the debates, these topics will surely have big effects on next month's election.
All right, and we're on, panel. What do you say? CNN says an Obama victory 48% to 40. Do you agree? WJ, I'll start with you.
What else would CNN say but an Obama victory?
Oh,
I think it was a fairly balanced performance. They were obviously both taking the centrist approach, which is advisable at this end of a political campaign.
Centrist meaning what?
Stay away from hot button issues as much as possible. Just don't be controversial. Try to get as many votes as you can in the last 10 days before the election.
Sounds like an oxymoron, doesn't it? You're running it for president, don't be controversial.
Yeah.
Well, it's about damage control. CNN does not lean to the left, by the way, just to be clear.
Okay.
If anything, they lean a little bit more to the right.
I believe you, James. I'm not sure I believe that what
Believe
you
me
said.
when I tell you that.
I think there's sets just to the left. Yeah, there's the latitude of the, yeah.
Obama won the debate. Mitt Romney had a very, very specific strategy to be Obama's doppelganger when it came to foreign policy.
Yes, he was.
He did that to try to sort of minimize and to do damage control around his own sort of foreign affairs flip-flops over the course of the season. And the fact that he has to start off on the right to get the nomination, and now he's moving more to the middle. But I think Obama won. He seemed very competent and very proud of his record as president.
Yeah, I was impressed. Yeah. FM, what do you think?
Well, on the one hand, there's confidence, and the other hand, there's competence, right? So to me, I think that, President Obama did win this debate, and he did so with his specifics about foreign policy, also his specifics about domestic policy, because Mitt Romney tried to guide the conversation several times into that territory and arena where he's more comfortable. And I also thought that it was kind of interesting that the conversation about Mitt Romney was more, did he pass the bar as like a high jumper in the Olympics in terms of appearing presidential, as opposed to does he actually have a specific plan that we could point at about achieving or accomplishing anything.
Right.
And as we saw, he just pretty much parroted everything that President Obama would do in terms of foreign policy.
Did he appear off what you said? Did he appear presidential?
Well, look, what better way to appear presidential than to just agree with everything the president says?
I concur.
So yeah, there's something, but there are some really funny points in the debate too. The whole bayonets and horses.
Right.
A lot of people
Horses and
talking
bayonets.
about.
Let's bring up. If you happen to miss the debate, that was one of my favorite parts. What is it? Bayonets, battleships. What happened there?
It was making a mockery of what he claimed to be Romney's lack of really up-to-date information, understanding of the military.
Yeah, I mean, essentially, Romney was saying, listen, our Navy is small. First of all, our Navy is huge. It's like 17 times larger than most navies of an industrially developed world.
Right.
And what he's arguing for, and this is the point that gets lost when we have sound bites like bayonets and horses. The point is that we need a military that is more strategic, that's smarter, that's more lean, and that relies more on diplomacy than it does on missiles.
Right.
And so that was the point Obama was trying to make. He made a joke out of it, and sometimes things get lost in that kind of
Right. I think just to give you the
soundbite.
quote, if you missed it, basically Romney was saying how, things had minimized,
Right.
and then he was a little bit snarky, and I liked it, Obama. He said, to quote him, "Well, Governor, we also have fewer horses and bayonets than we used to," painting him as sort of out of touch. We have these thing called aircraft carriers and planes that land on them. So he's got a great sense of humor. He's very quick, and I really think he put Romney in his place because it's quality, it's not quantity. Like, you want to go through stats and numbers, of course we don't have what we had years ago, but it's effectiveness.
Right.
And that's what I think, that's why to me, and I'm going to say it, I think Romney's a clown. Did I say that?
You
I
said
did.
it.
I think he's a clown. I think he says everything Obama says, and then
At least in that debate he did.
Yeah.
I don't disagree. I think Obama did win that particular debate, but let's not forget the fact that actually the election is closer now than ever before.
why is
It is
that?
a virtual coin toss. I said it before, I'll say it
Perception
again. Get ready. There may be some very, very disappointed people come election time.
They're going to be disappointed people.
There are.
No matter what.
And you claim
Either
it's not
way.
going to be you or
Either way.
your
Well,
is this going to
friends.
be Gore, Bush again?
I tend to think that we're not going to see an electoral popular vote split. I mean, that's a rare thing to happen. Also, to be just we're
But
all
I
in the
think
media
actually the
business.
numbers are actually playing out precisely that
They
way
are,
at this moment.
but it's unlikely that will happen. And a lot of the polls that we see and a lot of the commentary around polls are really about selling media time, being on TV,
Right.
making sure that people stay interested. I mean, when you look at where the electoral college is going right now, it favors Obama.
Yeah.
Yes, it does.
Okay, let's. I do want to bring up some points. Remember, how long was the debate? It felt like 5 hours. What was it?
An hour and a
An hour
half.
and a half. Okay.
The same
I
as
digress.
every other debate, but it seems longer because we're not as interested in foreign policy.
Yes, it's
was
amazing how we
deadly
wane.
boring.
And it was the third one.
What's that? And it
We
was
already
the third
had, and
final.
we had gone through that in the
Yes.
VP
The least
debate.
watched debate too of all
Was
three
it the least?
debates.
That's
Yes,
interesting.
yes.
And
Okay.
yet it wasn't boring? You didn't find it
I
boring?
didn't find it boring at all.
Sometimes less
but
is
I'm
more,
not-
though.
No, it was kind of a snooze fest.
It
the
was
last
a little
half
bit.
hour.
It was a little bit
Everybody
because
kind
it wasn't. There
of-
wasn't a
didn't
lot.
feel
Of,
that.
there wasn't a lot
I
of
didn't.
collision.
The last
There
half
wasn't a lot
hour,
of
everybody
collision.
kind of
But
started,
anyway,
wah,
let's get to
wah.
some of the topics that they didn't get to, couldn't get to, but a lot of people still, including ourselves, still want to talk about. Let's bring up, let's say, campaign finance corruption. All these super
Sure.
PACs. I just want to bring back
That
to
are
the
legal.
table. Right. So the Supreme Court's 2011 ruling on the Citizens United case
Yeah.
saying, we've seen a rapid increase in corporate money into electoral politics, and it's fine. According to this case, it boils down to the following. Money is speech. Corporations are people, and therefore, under the First Amendment, the government cannot stop corporations from spending money on politics however they choose. What do we think of this? How big of a problem
in my
is this
opinion,
becoming?
we should be talking about this every single week. This is what's wrong with American politics. It is also a foreign policy issue as well, because the way it's structured right now, you can actually have foreign entities investing in American presidential campaigns. But the money in politics
Do we?
is
I mean,
you can. I don't
can.
know.
It doesn't-
But you can.
You can,
That-
that's
the
the
Citizens
point,
United
right.
opens that up. And to me, money in politics is what's ruining American politics right now.
Yeah, you have to. You used to always have to only be able to disclose your individual donors, but now with these super PACs, you can give as much as
Right.
you want to these super PACs, and that's why you'll see the Koch brothers are backing the Tea Party movement, and they really are sort of the founders of that, and then
Right.
all of those candidates. Now, who knows what's going to happen in those scenarios? But when you're talking about $1 billion spent just on ads and just on campaigns and ads on television and radio to try to get the word out, where could that money be better used?
I know,
mean,
it
really,
makes your head
whether it's
spin.
foreign or local. I
Right.
mean,
Right.
I want to ask you, WJ, how do we get this dark money out of our politics
I
and the
didn't say
corruption
I didn't say that
it's
necessarily has to be
associated?
removed, nor that it will be.
Okay, or
My point
minimized.
of view is that as long as everybody has the same access to the monies and it's a fairly level playing field, why is everyone arguing?
Are you kidding?
No, I'm not kidding.
It is, well, listen, it's not a level playing field between the folk who are rich and the American voting populace. So you can have a billionaire who has a particular issue and he can pour his money into a campaign and make sure that issue gets on the platform. That's why there's so many issues
Who's
that people want
the
to
guy,
see.
Adelson? Adelson in
benefit from
Vegas.
that
Of course they
kind
benefit
Well,
from it. Of
look
course
at
they benefit
Powell-
from it.
Powell
The
Road, for
The
example.
problem
I
is
mean-
that individuals can control the policy that we see in the platform.
Right.
And I like the people to control that.
Right. And that is.
Good luck on that.
Yeah, right.
No,
The lady would like to speak.
I just think that
So demure today.
you said that last week as well.
Like you're surprised.
Hey, listen, you know what? I've been told enough times to shut up. Maybe I'm just taking the bait here, and I'm just going to zip it a little bit and tone it down.
When people tell you me to shut up, it's a compliment.
Hey, I like that
Take
too.
it.
All right,
Flattering.
TWB, you're
Right.
on my side. Girl power. Anyway, the point being that super PAC money, that decision by the Supreme Court, corporations are people that's not old. It's a relatively new choice to go as deep as they went with this, and hopefully, potentially, could still be reversed with a couple of the appointments that the either
Let's
incoming
hope.
president would have or the current president, could have, right?
You want to take
Whomever.
wages on who would vote the justice
don't
and they'll
know.
overturn it?
No, but the people are starting to buy the Supreme Court, is what I'm getting at.
You think?
Is
Yeah.
that is not only did the Supreme Court's decision, influence what it is that the campaigns look like now, because truly, if you have more money, you can buy more ad time, and then you can put forth whatever it is that you want in terms of the platform for pro-Obama, pro-Romney, pro-coal, pro-oil drilling, pro,
Without necessarily
it doesn't-
reporting where the money comes from.
Right.
And you mentioned the Supreme Court. In your opinions, why is this election so important in terms of what happens with the Supreme Court down the road? What's
One,
going to happen?
at
Because
least-
you're going to appoint a couple
yeah.
people.
1 to 3.
What do we think? What do we anticipate is going to happen?
It's a close vote right now in the Supreme Court, and actually whoever wins this election is going to actually potentially will be appointing two of them, which means that could create an imbalance once again in the Supreme Court.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's balanced right now. It seems to be a fairly right-leaning Supreme
Conservative.
Court.
They're all kind of
Fairly
old, aren't they?
conservative.
It is.
They're not all old. No, Alito
lot
and
of
Justice
them
Roberts are not that old. Neither is King. The
Is that
lot
why
of
most
people
super
in-
recent.
PACs
a lot of
actually super PACs
septuagenarians.
actually got into being because of that right leaning?
You could
I
make
wanna-
that. You could make
yeah.
that argument.
Yeah.
Yes, you could definitely make that argument. And again, there are going to be a lot of things that can be decided by this next court.
Right.
Roe v. Wade might be decided by this next court. All the issues that are on the table right now will come before this next court. And
Very
the president
true.
the next president could get up to 3 appointees, at least 1, maybe 2, but also as many as 3.
And
Right.
that's
Wow.
huge, and that's huge. And that really, I mean, when you're talking about the Constitution and setting precedent, that's huge. I mean, they have upended things like the PAC money decision, that otherwise corporations are not people. I'm sorry, they really
They're
just
not.
aren't.
I agree with you on that.
And there's no way that you can say that. And the fact that there isn't disclosure and transparency
Yeah.
is really the biggest part, because people don't realize who's
frightening.
behind
That's right.
whatever it is that's being posited.
people
And
have a
then
right to
Guys,
know
all
that.
listen,
kinds
the
of-
whole
it's
money
frightening.
situation in politics, you're sounding as naive as I do sometimes on the show. But I think the issue, the horse is out of the barn
So
as
to
far as
speak.
money in politics
which
are
is-
And I want to
concerned.
put that
But
back
that's
in the
Well,
but
good
that's
luck on
but
that
that's
one.
why
Put it back in the
but
barn.
that's
And
why the
correct him.
president raised more money than Mitt Romney did on this issue. And I mean, there's
And well, they're raising money differently too. I mean, Obama's money is raised largely by much smaller donations than Romney's money. But that is, I just want the money out of politics. Period. It's corrupting the system. And again, we got to keep talking about it. You're right. We
Is
can
that-
throw our
that's
hands
never
up,
gonna
but-
happen, though.
Well,
I-
actually,
it's
it
never gonna
does
happen.
happen sometimes, because my uncle was a senator in Massachusetts for many years, a state senator, and he refused to accept PAC money as part of his whole campaign
Really?
platform.
Who's that, by the
That
way?
was one of
Did he
the
win?
David Mignani in Framingham.
Hard-
Yes.
but harder to
But-
do that now, though.
Absolutely. I'm
Yes.
just saying that there is a certain ethical integrity cause that you could abide by if you wanted to. You could refuse to play in that system, and that may get into third-party candidates. I don't
Well,
know.
I'm
but-
glad you brought that up. We have a two-party system. Is this becoming obsolete? How do we get more third-party candidates involved?
Well, we have
What
a
say
third
you,
party.
the
We
panel?
have it's called the Tea Party. The question is whether the Tea
No, you
Party
mean
is
the
a,
Republican.
is a viable third party.
That's
If it
the-
really
No,
represents
hold on.
a choice for Democrats and Republicans, and the point is that it does not.
WJ. The
What?
Tea Party is the Republican Party at this
It's
point
the
in time.
far right of the Republican
they're
Party.
all
I
they're
know
all rolled
that.
into
I
one.
call
I'm
them
saying
the
that
scary
technically
party.
it
When
is a
you have
separate
people
party.
like Olympia Snow in Maine that are resigning because
Yes.
You're so
the party has
condescending
become too
sometimes.
What?
conservative. No, because the GOP party has been too conservative for her, and she has been a moderate Republican, if you will. And people will call Reagan a moderate Republican at
Colin
this point,
Powell,
which
a moderate Republican.
right. And so the Tea
Supporting
Party
Obama.
is yes, but so far on the right. Absolutely, Colin Powell and John Sununu's remark about that I found highly, highly offensive. By the way, pulling out the race card on that, I
Yeah, I
thought
wrote
was
about that
Ridiculous.
ridiculous.
this
You guys, does the Electoral College need updating? What do you think?
Give some background to how the
I think it's a little obsolete. I think it's time we move on.
Let's explain it, actually, for people who kind of take for granted
Sure.
what it is, don't understand it. The Electoral College, and please correct me if I'm wrong on this one, was created way back when, during the first elections in this government, in this country, because the common man or woman was not trusted, was man at that time.
Yeah, it was man at that time, yes.
That they were not trusted to actually be able to understand, to know their minds, and to be able to know character and vote for the right person as a popular vote. So they would vote for someone that they could trust, a leader in the community, a rich person, a rich guy, right?
Yes, but it was also...
So therefore they would be voting for the person who would be casting the vote.
It was checks and balances.
Checks and balances,
if you
because
will.
it's also put in place because they didn't want larger states to overdetermine the outcome of presidential elections.
Correct.
Now the way it works is that smaller states, less populated states, and these so-called swing states or purple states are having an undue influence on it. So I don't know if it's obsolete, but it's certainly, the Electoral College needs to be revisited. It's difficult to throw it out, but it definitely needs to be revisited. And also we need to know, we're like the only people who do it that way.
Right. Right. But I mean, it just seems to me, it's just crazy to think you could win the popular vote but lose the election. How does that make sense on any level?
Ask Al Gore.
It still doesn't. It still makes my blood boil,
That's
to be
a
frank.
debacle, right, right. Well,
Could
no.
happen this year.
I doubt it, but
I doubt it will
still
come
could.
down to that, but I do think that the Electoral College needs revisitation and certainly some updating and more reflective of the
Let's
popular
take a trip
vote.
next week.
Yeah.
Where is the
Let's-
Electoral College?
Well, we should,
Can anyone, where's Waldo? Anyone
But,
located
you know,
around?
the thing about it though is that the Electoral College dampens our enthusiasm for voting because people don't really understand it, like WJ
They
said,
don't.
and we have to sort of get the enthusiasm back in voting. I mean, what's the percentage of people who vote? Like 60% of people voted in the last
Real quickly.
presidential
Does your
election?
vote really count?
CBS this morning had a nice little parody with Mo Rocca on how the Electoral College works. He went into a fifth grade classroom and they voted on crayons or pencils, and he showed how the popular vote won the pencils. The winner was pencils, but electorally it went to the markers. But I digress. Check it out. Real quickly, we talked about Gore for a moment. Let's talk about climate change. That's another topic, energy usage that the candidates didn't get to. We have about a minute. What say you, FM on the dial?
I say that President Barack Obama really spent a lot of time discussing green energy in terms of an economic sense and a business sense, but not really so much in actually a ground soldier, natural sense and trying to preserve and protect. So he's talking about green jobs and putting money into that, and actually kind of didn't pull back from some of that, I think, when he might have and could have, and that's why he's gotten so much heat for places like Solyndra and whatnot, where he could have actually done a little bit more environmentally than he has.
I think that actually President Obama still wants to come across as a green kind of a guy with respect to energy, but I think that he has become more and more of a driller, and I think he will become more and more of one in the coming term should he be elected.
Okay.
Climate change is a nonpartisan issue. Everyone should be invested in it. It's one of the most important issues facing the planet, and for certainly our country. And then as China and as India become more industrialized, it's going to become even more of a problem for us to think about the environment.
To be continued, guys. We got to take a break. A lot of hot topics to get to. So when we come back, we're tackling another one. Why not? Up next on the agenda, job outsourcing. Unemployment is sky high in the U.S., so why on earth are more jobs being outsourced to countries like India and China? That's ahead after the break. You're watching Fresh Outlook. Stay with us. Nice job.